Alright, today I'm going to go ahead and put on this P3 carbon fiber front rotor cover on my Husqvarna FE350s. It's year 2023. I have a pile of parts that have been sitting in the garage for about a year now, and finally going to put this one on. So, doing a front wheel and tire swap today, and going to go ahead and slap this on there. And I'm not sure exactly how it goes, but we'll figure it out. Basically, what you have to do is pop the spacer out of the wheel. So I put the axle in there and tried to torque on it ever so slightly up and down, and it wasn't budging that much. So I took a large screwdriver and popped it out from the inside. So after that, this sleeve here actually just goes right into that wheel bearing, and it slides right in. So what I have here is some high temp disc brake grease. This particular wheel is new enough that there's still grease in there, but if you do need a little bit, I will just add just a tiny little bit on the surface there, and that'll help it slide in to the wheel. And there's a little sleeve in there, and this slides all the way up flush to the rotor. So just like that, it is now taking the place of the old spacer that was in the wheel. So now I just go ahead and mount this wheel up in the front end, rotate that out of the way, and then put the rotor up into the caliper. Okay, so I wiped down the axle. Just gonna go ahead and put a thin layer of that high temp disc grease on it. And I'll slide the axle in, and it'll help support the wheel for me. Sometimes the caliper closes a little bit. Just use a very slight little bit of pressure with a flathead screwdriver to open it up. Careful not to damage the brake pad or the rotor. And once you get that slid up in there, this can help you cradle it. It's kind of hard juggling it all. So that's a little bit more lined up. And then now the last thing to do is get that rotor slid into the caliper in those brake pads. There it is. Pretty easy setup. And there's the axle. This is how it looks after that rotor cover is installed. I like to wipe down all the grease and rocks and dirt. This is all desert sand. So I'll clean this up, put some new grease on it. I looked it up on section 14.2 of the owner's manual. Is the instructions for installing the front wheel. So the front axle torque is 25.8 foot-pounds, and those little pinch bolts, the little 10mm pinch bolts, are 11.1 foot-pounds. So what I'm gonna do is barely snug those up, and I feel that helps you line up the axle with the forks. So it's cradling it, but not so tight that it doesn't allow the axle to compress anymore. So after that, I'm gonna torque this nut and hold the other side with a wrench, and I'm gonna torque that down to 26 foot-pounds. After that, I'm gonna torque the little 10mm pinch bolts down to 11 foot-pounds, and it will be all dialed. All right, so like I said, I like to just barely snug up these pinch bolts just so it holds everything nice and in line. Might need to get a wrench for that one. Go ahead and hand tighten them. Just barely make them snug. It's only gonna be 11 foot-pounds, so it's not much. Take a wrench on this side here. This is 17 millimeter. I got my torque wrench 17 millimeter on the actual axle cap nut. Going to tighten this up at 26 foot-pounds. Almost there. So it is still compressing a bit, and that should be it. There it is. There's that 26. Adjust this all the way down to 11. So that's 10. Roll it over one more click. 11. Take this socket here. And then just tighten these little pinch bolts. I'm just watching for the neck of the torque wrench to bend. And it's going to be a very, very slight action. There it is there. There's that. And the last ones. That's it. Thanks for watching. Hit that like and subscribe, and thanks for tuning in.